In the world of naval architecture, there is a certain intoxication that comes with displacement. There is something undeniably primal about a 10,000-ton destroyer, a mountain of steel, radar arrays, and vertical launch cells, carving through the Pacific at 30 knots. It is the ultimate statement of national arrival. It's the maritime equivalent of a bespoke tuxedo, imposing, expensive, and designed to ensure everyone in the room knows you've spent a lot of money to be there. Around the world, the race for tonnage is accelerating. We see China's Type 055 super destroyers displacing over 13,000 tons. We see Japan's Maya-class and America's Arleigh Burke Flight 3. In this theater of giants, Vietnam's naval strategy appears almost humble. While neighbors discuss cruisers, Vietnam continues to focus on 2,000-ton frigates, 500-ton missile boats, and the silent shadows of the deep. To the casual observer, this looks like a gap in ambition. To the armchair general, it looks like a lack of resources. But if you look closer, past the gleaming hulls and into the cold, hard logic of modern geography, you begin to realize that Vietnam isn't failing to join the destroyer club. They are looking at the membership fee, looking at the rules of the game, and deciding to play a different sport entirely. Welcome back to Minh Quan Story. Today, we aren't talking about the biggest ships in the water. We're talking about why, in the high-stakes chess match of the South China Sea, a 10,000-ton warship might just be the most expensive liability a medium power could ever buy. Let's comment on the news differently. To understand why Vietnam doesn't build naval giants, we first have to understand the ground, or rather, the water, they stand on. Vietnam possesses a coastline stretching over 3,260 kilometers, opening directly into one of the most contested and dense maritime environments on the planet, the East Sea. This isn't the open Atlantic. This is a region defined by choke points, shallow reefs, and extreme proximity. In a 2025 report by the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, AMTI, the South China Sea is increasingly described as a sensor-saturated environment. Between satellite surveillance, high-altitude long-endurance drones, and underwater hydrophone arrays, the era of the hidden fleet on the surface is effectively over. If you put a 10,000-ton ship in these waters, you aren't just deploying a weapon, you are deploying a beacon. You are putting a massive radar cross-section in a bathtub where everyone has a flashlight. For Vietnam, the central strategic question has never been, how do we dominate the ocean, but rather, how do we ensure no one else can? This is the distinction between sea control and sea denial. Sea control requires massive, sustained presence, carrier strike groups and heavy destroyers. Sea denial, however, is the art of the hidden blade. It is about making the cost of entry so high that an adversary decides the prize isn't worth the price. And as we're about to see, when it comes to the hidden blade, 10,000 tons of steel is often 8,000 tons too many. Let's talk about the math, because in geopolitics, the spreadsheet is often deadlier than the sword. According to SIPRI's 2024 to 2025 data, global military spending has hit a staggering $2.7 trillion. However, for a medium power like Vietnam, with an estimated defense budget in the realm of $7 to $8 billion, the economic reality of a super destroyer is terrifying. A modern 10,000-ton destroyer, equipped with Aegis-equivalent sensors and a full suite of cruise missiles, carries a price tag of roughly $2 to $2.20 billion per hull. That is just the sticker price. If Vietnam were to build or buy just one of these vessels, it would consume nearly 30% of its entire annual defense budget. But as Defense News frequently points out, buying the ship is the easy part. It's the maintenance tail that kills you. A ship of that size requires a specialized ecosystem, deep-water dry docks that don't currently exist in the same capacity as civilian yards, a crew of 300 to 400 highly trained specialists, and a logistics chain for parts that often have to be imported from half a world away. Over a 30-year lifespan, the cost of keeping a 10,000-ton destroyer operational is typically 3 times its purchase price. For the cost of one Mirage destroyer, Vietnam can, and does, procure an entire fleet of Gepard-class frigates, Malnia missile boats, and the crowning jewel of its deterrence, the 6-kilo class submarines. In the eyes of the Vietnamese Ministry of Defense, the choice is simple. Do you want one giant shield that might break, or do you want 1,000 stings that the enemy can never quite find? Beyond the money, there is the brutal reality of physics and modern lethality. We are living in the age of the missile. In the late 20th century, a large ship was survivable because its armor and point defense systems could handle the threats of the day. But today? Jane's Defense Weekly highlights a shift in naval warfare toward saturation attacks. When China displays its Type 055 super destroyers, they are often seen launching the YJ-21 hypersonic anti-ship missile. These are weapons designed to kill aircraft carriers. But irony works both ways. A 10,000-ton destroyer is a high-value target. In a conflict, it becomes a magnet for every land-based missile, every submarine-launched torpedo, and every $50,000 suicide drone in the theater. In the shallow bathymetry of the Spratly Islands, a 2,000-ton Gepard frigate can hide behind the radar clutter of islands and reefs. A tiny Malnia boat can loiter in a cove, virtually indistinguishable from a fishing trawler until it unloads its Irani missiles. These are expendable assets in the brutal logic of war. If you lose a $100 million missile boat, it's a tragedy. If you lose a $2 billion destroyer, it's a national crisis that shifts the entire balance of power. Vietnam's current naval architecture, focused on the Sigma and Gepard designs, shows a commitment to what analysts call the Mosquito fleet. According to the size, Vietnam's active defense doctrine focuses on combating the enemy from afar using a combination of mobile, land-based Bastion P coastal defense systems and Agile C units. Think of it this way: why would you build a floating target when you can turn your entire 3,000-kilometer coastline into an unsinkable aircraft carrier? By placing long-range sensors and missile batteries on land, Vietnam achieves the reach of a heavy destroyer without the vulnerability of a hull that can be sunk by a single well-placed torpedo. There is a psychological trap in defense called the prestige trap. It's the desire for a nation to possess hardware that looks like what the superpowers have, regardless of whether it fits their strategic needs. We see this often. Developing nations buying aging aircraft carriers they can't afford to sail, or heavy tanks that sink into their own muddy roads. It is a form of military vanity. Vietnam's refusal to chase the 10,000-ton dream is, in my opinion, a sign of extreme intellectual maturity. It shows a military leadership that values lethality over aesthetics. They understand that in the East Sea, prestige won't save your sovereignty, but asymmetry might. There is a certain dry humor in the fact that while global powers spend billions trying to make massive ships stealthy, Vietnam is achieving stealth by simply staying small. You don't need expensive radar-absorbent coatings if your ship is small enough to hide in the sea spray. You don't need a 100-cell vertical launch system if you have a truck-mounted battery hidden in a jungle cave on the coast that can do the same job for a fraction of the cost. The 10,000-ton destroyer is a ballroom weapon. It's perfect for showing the flag, for port visits, and for looking magnificent in a naval parade. But the East Sea isn't a ballroom. It's a dark alley. And in a dark alley, you don't want a tuxedo. You want a brass knuckle and a quick exit. So, what is the climax of this strategy? Where does it all lead? The strategic twist is that Vietnam is building a heavy presence, but it's not made of steel. It's made of geography. When you look at Vietnam's modernization, from the fourth-generation Kilo submarines to the indigenous development of UAVs and the fortification of island outposts, you see the construction of a steel wall that doesn't need to displace a single ton of water. As Nikkei Asia recently noted, the future of regional security isn't about who has the biggest ship, it's about who has the best kill web, the ability to link a drone in the sky to a missile on a truck to a submarine under the waves. By avoiding the 10,000-ton Mirage, Vietnam has avoided the trap of concentrated risk. If an enemy sinks a destroyer, the Navy is crippled. But how do you sink 1,000 hidden batteries? How do you neutralize a coastline that has spent decades preparing to be the ultimate defensive platform? Vietnam's message to the world is quiet but clear: we are not here to win a beauty contest. We are here to ensure that any violation of our waters comes with a price tag no one can afford to pay. In the end, naval power isn't measured in tons, it's measured in the ability to say no. A 10,000-ton ship says, "I am here." A well-placed, land-based missile and a stealthy submarine say, "Don't come here." For a nation focused on protecting its sovereignty and its resources, the latter is far more valuable than the former. Vietnam's choice to remain small and lethal isn't a retreat, it's an evolution. It is a recognition that in the 21st century, the most dangerous thing you can be is obvious. But what do you think? If you were a naval commander with a fixed budget, would you put all your gold into one invincible giant, or would you scatter it across 1,000 hidden stings? Is the era of the massive destroyer finally coming to an end in the face of modern missile technology? Let us know in the comments. Your perspective helps us see the story from every angle. If you found this analysis insightful, consider subscribing to the channel. We don't just read the headlines, we try to understand the logic behind them. I'm Minh Quan. This was Minh Quan Story International. Commenting on the news, differently. See you in the next one.